Hare Krishna and a warm welcome on our next session on discussion on the basics of Bhagavad Gita. Today we'll be beginning the sixth chapter, and this is the very important chapter because so far in the first five chapters, Krishna emphasized on one aspect of performing karma yoga, performing one's duty. So the first six chapter till fifth chapter emphasize on performing one's duty, how to achieve perfection or how to achieve liberation by performance of one's prescribed duty. Nishkam Karma Yoga. But this chapter is different from the other five chapters which have been explained so far in Bhagavad Gita. This chapter describes about another aspect of yoga which is called the Dhyana Yoga or the Ashtanga Yoga. So before we begin and discuss, let us have the invocation and then we'll begin to discuss this chapter. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. So far in these five chapters, we have seen Krishna's emphasis. Krishna is inspiring, Krishna is encouraging and motivating Arjuna to perform his duty. And he should not become very attached to what will be the result or the outcome. And in the last verse, in the fifth chapter, we saw Krishna gave Arjuna the peace formula. Very important peace formula. Many years back, when Srila Prabhupada in 1960s, 66 and 67, when Prabhupada began to propagate our Krishna consciousness movement, he incorporated ISKCON in 1966, July 1966 in New York. And in 1967, there was one person who was working in the United Nations. So he had come and met Srila Prabhupada. And he invited Srila Prabhupada to come to the United Nations. And Prabhupada, with his very new followers and disciples, Prabhupada went there and in the UN, the United Nations building. And Prabhupada did not enter inside to have any conference or any meeting or any deliberation. But Prabhupada, outside the building with his disciples and followers, he performed Harinam Sankirtan. And that was that episode, that instance was covered by one of the leading dailies of New York. And it came on the front page that the Indian Swami makes a peace mission. And what is that peace mission? The same peace mission which Kṛṣṇa is giving. That bhoktaram yagatapasam. That Kṛṣṇa is the enjoyer. Kṛṣṇa is the benefactor. Unless and until people understand this reality, there cannot be any peace in this world. Rather, the world will be in pieces as we experience. The world has become more fragmented after the formation of United Nations, because actually we are not united, we are disunited. How can we be united? We can only be united if we have a common father. How can we be brothers? How can the spirit of brotherhood be cultivated or developed? It can only be developed if we have someone who is, one second, one moment. Hare Krishna, sorry. So there is no possibility of any unification. So if we have to have a unification, if any kind of unification is required, we need to have something which is common to both or to common to all. And this, indeed, we all have one thing common. That is that Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Father of all of us. So unless and until this fact is acknowledged and accepted, there cannot be any unification. So Prabhupada emphasized this, and Kṛṣṇa himself is declaring in Bhagavad Gita that whoever has come in this material world, you will see that later Kṛṣṇa will speak that anityam asukham lokam, that this place is a temporary place. It is a transitory place. It is anitya. It is non-permanent. And it is asukham. Asukham means that there cannot be any happiness here. Because any happiness that we experience here is fleeting. It will not stay. It will pass away. So anityam asukham lokam. Kṛṣṇa says then, imam prapasya bhajasvamam. Even if you are pushed here, if you are forced to be here, there is only one solution, one remedy. What is that? Bhajasvamam. One should glorify, one should chant, and one should serve the Supreme Lord. So how to be able to do that? When one has this conviction, clarity, that Kṛṣṇa is bhoktaram yagatapasam. That Kṛṣṇa is the enjoyer, Kṛṣṇa is the benefactor of all the sacrifices and all the austerity. And he is the controller, he is the master, he is the proprietor of every possession in this existence, in this universe. Everything belongs to Kṛṣṇa. So that feeling of possessiveness that we have is false. Unless and until that false feeling of possessiveness is given up. How can it be given up? When we have this knowledge. So this false possessiveness is the reason of one's suffering. Because everything is possessed by Kṛṣṇa. Then he says that gyatva mam shantir richati. So one who can know this, he can experience any peace here. Otherwise, one will be in pieces. There cannot be any peace. So how to be able to do that? How to come to know that gyatva mam, to know Kṛṣṇa. To know Kṛṣṇa means to come to the platform of transcendence, to be the platform of pure knowledge. So Kṛṣṇa has prescribed so far the path of karma yoga. And now we see that in the 5th chapter, in the final section, in the 27th and 28th verse, Kṛṣṇa also talked about one more path, which is the path of Ashtanga Yoga. Kṛṣṇa spoke about it, that this path is also there. This path is prescribed, this path is there. But we will explore in this chapter that how accessible or easy or achievable is this path. This is the path apart from the path of Karma Yoga. So we will see this chapter will begin with Kṛṣṇa analyzing both the paths. Kṛṣṇa will address one as yoga, which refers to Karma Yoga, which he has prescribed so far. And then he will prescribe the path of Ashtanga Yogi, one who has given up his karma, who is in the order of renunciation. That means he has taken to the other path, the path of meditative process. Okay, so let us begin. Let us begin the 6th chapter, Dhyana Yoga. First verse, śrī-bhagavān uvāca anāśritaḥ karma-phalaṁ kāryaṁ karma karoti sannyāsī ca yogī ca niragnir na cākriyaḥ. Kṛṣṇa is revealing here. Kṛṣṇa begins to speak. He is continuing to speak from the 5th chapter. And he says that anāśritaḥ karma-phalaṁ. Ashrita means that one who is taking refuge, or one who is taking shelter. So everyone in this world takes shelter of what? His karma-phalaṁ. What if you ask anyone that what is the motivation of performing action? If you see any teams, they assemble, they come to contest. So you ask them what is the purpose of coming? What they will reply? The purpose of coming is to win the World Cup or win the title. Why students are coming in class? To get the best marks. Why people are coming in the office? To get the maximum salary. So where are their ashraya? Where is their refuge? What is their motivation? Is the result or the reward that they will reap from performing the action. But here Kṛṣṇa begins by saying that anāśritaḥ karma-phalaṁ. That one who has not been motivated, or one who does not take refuge in the reward or the result of the action that he performs. So he is anāśrita. And he is anāśrita of what? Karma-phalaṁ. Of the result of the work or the reward of the work. So one who is not motivated, or one who is not taking refuge in the result or the reward of the work. So what will be the position of the person? What he will naturally do? He will say, why should I work? Where is the need for me to work? If I don't get the result or the reward, why should I work? Many years back, it was in, say, 2000, around 2000, yeah, year 2000 or so, I did a survey. And I found out that mostly people in West, many had focused on United Kingdom. Maximum people work there only with the purpose to be able to pay their bills. Otherwise, they will not work. Given a choice, they would not work. But here Kṛṣṇa is saying, Kṛṣṇa is giving both the conditions. Very beautiful. The first is, one is anāśrit karma-phalaṁ. That he is not motivated. The motivating factor is not the result or the reward or the recognition of the work as a result of his work. Okay, that means one is completely detached, or one is having a spirit of renunciation. So one who has a spirit of renunciation, what he does, he is callous. We don't see him doing any action. But here Kṛṣṇa checkmates that. And then in the next line, Krishna says, kāryaṁ karma karoti. But in spite of being anāśrit, what is the situation of such a person? Is kāryaṁ karma karoti. The kārya means obligatory duties. That means which are prescribed, which he must perform. So he performs his actions or activities or his duty with full enthusiasm, irrespective of remaining detached from the result of his work. On one hand, he is completely detached. On the other hand, he is completely enthusiastic. He is bubbling with endeavor and energy to perform his duties. Krishna says, kāryaṁ karma karoti. So such a person who is completely detached from the result of his work, and also he is attached to performing his work. Such a person is sannyāsī cha yogī cha. So Krishna is combining both. So far, if we have seen, Krishna has given that they are at two levels, at two different levels. Sannyas and yogi, Krishna has dealt differently. I'll come to that point, but just for understanding. But here Krishna is combining both. That who is the sannyasi? Kāryaṁ karma karoti. Sorry, yogi. Yogi means who is a performer. Karma yogi. That he is always engaged in performing his prescribed duties. So such a person is yogi. So Krishna says that, and who is anāśritaḥ karma-phalaṁ? That is very beautiful. Yeah, some understanding is revealing that anāśritaḥ karma-phalaṁ is sannyāsī. Is anāśritaḥ karma-phalaṁ. Such a person is called sannyāsī. And one who is determined to perform his duties, such a person is karma yogi. So Krishna says, sa yogi, sa sannyāsī, sa yogi sa. So such a person is both. He is simultaneously at the same time sannyasi also, and at the same time he is a karma yogi. And not na niragnir, na cākriyaḥ. So again, if you see the quality of a sannyasi, that he does not ignite fire to cook, because he is in renounced order. It is the householder's proposition to ignite fire to cook and to perform all such activities. But what who is renounced, he does not have to ignite fire. So he is sannyasi. But a sannyasi is not supposed to perform ordinary duties. So Krishna checkmates that also. He says, na niragnir, that means he performs his actions, his activities, na cākriyaḥ, nor does he abandon duty. Have you understood? So Krishna is glorifying the person that who is detached from the fruit, from the result, but at the same time he is attached to performing his action. He does not give up his action at any time. And such a person is both. He is in the renounced order also, and he is in the topmost yoga ladder also. Sa sannyāsī cha yogi cha. And such a person is na niragnir, na cākriyaḥ. So Krishna is inspiring and motivating Arjuna. So here again, if you see, so Krishna is again emphasizing Arjuna not to run away from his prescribed duty. But Krishna is reinforcing Arjuna to perform his duty, which is the highest. Performing one's duty with renounced state of mind is the highest level of a practitioner, which Krishna is here emphasizing. So one is that the sannyasi is free from selfish desires, that is detachment, anāśritaḥ karma-phalaṁ. And the second is that he serves or he works with attachment, which is for selfless service with the desire to please the Lord. That is the yogi. So Krishna combines both now. If you see so far, if you see in the 5th chapter, Krishna was dealing both of them differently. In 5.2, Krishna says, sannyasas karma yogascha nishriya karo ubho. Tayostu karma sannyasas karma yogi vishishyate. So Kṛṣṇa was talking about the two differently. You remember how fifth chapter began? Arjuna inquired, which is higher? Karma sannyas or karma yoga? And what did Kṛṣṇa recommend? Kṛṣṇa recommended that for you, Arjuna, at your level, karma yoga is higher for you than karma sannyas. But here Kṛṣṇa is combining both. He is saying that this, now see the translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work. Actually, this is yoga. If you remember how yoga begins, what is the first verse that Kṛṣṇa mentions about yoga in Bhagavad Gita? First time when Kṛṣṇa addresses about yoga, 2.48. Yogastu kuru karmani sangam taktva dhanajya. 2.48. So this is the preliminary condition of one who is in yoga. Yoga means one who is in connection with the Supreme Lord. And how can one connect? When one is disconnect from the material attachments or the material results or the rewards. So Kṛṣṇa is saying here that one who is unattached to the fruits of his work, that such a person is in yoga. And he who works as he is obligated, as in the renounced order of life. And he is true mystic. Not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So here Kṛṣṇa is combining both. That one who is established in yoga or one who is in sannyas, actually there is no difference. Why? Because both will reach to the highest level. And how they will reach, that Kṛṣṇa will give the details in this chapter. So very important. So Kṛṣṇa is combining. And Kṛṣṇa is speaking about one who is in topmost renounced level of consciousness is the same as one who is performing devotional service with a desire to please the Supreme Lord. One devotee was nicely explaining that sannyas means one who is free from selfish desires. He has no desire for sense gratification. That is one side of the coin. And the other side of the coin is having desire for selfless service to the Lord. That is yogi. So here Kṛṣṇa is combining both. He says, sa sannyāsī sa yogī cha. And not one who is nacha niragnir, one who does not perform his prescribed duty, na cākriyaḥ, or one who does not perform his action. Rather, one who sees inaction in action. If you see, Kṛṣṇa explained about it in the 4th chapter. Sa buddhiman manusheshu. One who is able to see inaction in action. You remember? Inaction in action. That means one who is free from the reaction of his action. Why? Because all his actions are meant to please the Supreme Lord. So Kṛṣṇa begins this chapter by explaining the position of a sannyāsī and yogi to be the same. And who is that personality? Who is detached, not from performing action, but he performs action with detached consciousness, that he is not interested or not motivated by the result of the action. Let us see Srila Prabhupada's purport. In this chapter, the Lord explains the process of the eightfold yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. So as this chapter says, the name of this chapter is Dhyan. Dhyan means to focus, to meditate. And how one can perform dhyan or how one can have focus? When the mind is peaceful. When the mind is able to concentrate. But in the age of Kali, what is the position of a practitioner? What is the most difficult part? Is to be able to control the mind. So as we speak about this Dhyana Yoga, so Kṛṣṇa will explain it. Kṛṣṇa has explained this path also. So that Kṛṣṇa has given all paths in Bhagavad Gita. So far he has emphasized on Nishkam Karma Yoga. And now he will emphasize on the Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana Yoga is the part of the Ashtanga Yoga. Dhyana, Dharana and Samadhi. It is the eightfold, as the word goes, Ashtanga. Ashta means eight and Anga means limb. So the Ashtanga Yoga has 8 limbs. It begins from Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dhyan, Dharana and Samadhi. So the focus in this Ashtanga Yoga process is to be able to control and curb one's senses and mind. And Prabhupada says that, however, it is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the eightfold yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of karma yoga or acting in Krishna consciousness is better. Why it is better? It is easy. Both it is easy and it is accessible. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest. So that we have discussed so many times, that everyone requires a carrot. Prabhupada gives the example of a carrot, like the donkey. The Prabhupada says the burden of beast. Why the burden of beast agrees to carry so much of load on his back every day? Because the master of that burden of beast, that donkey, he shows the dangling carrot. And that carrot becomes the motivation for that donkey to carry so much of loads. And what the poor animal does, he is never able to relish or enjoy that carrot. That carrot remains distant from him. But with the desire to enjoy that carrot, he is willing to take so much of load and so much of burden on his back. So here Prabhupada is mentioning that everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest. Deha apatya kalatra adishu. Deha means body. Apatya means those who are the byproducts of the body, which is the children. And kalatra means the extended self, which people call as wife. And adishu. Adishu means all that paraphernalia which is extending from all this. From body, from the bodily extensions and the connections with the body. So they are called Dehapatta Kalatra Adishu. So everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and other paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification. So what is that gratification? That dangling carrot. That they will be able to enjoy or experience some happiness with all these family members or their paraphernalias. Some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. So concentrated is family and extended is society. And such a person is called Grahamedi. Grahamedi. One who lives only for the benefit of one's own family members, either concentrated or extended. The criteria of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness. However, that is the path of prayers. That is the path of immediate sense gratification. But the path of salvation or the path of perfection is to act in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, to act for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. It's not easy to not be motivated or not to claim or not to be able to renounce the result of one's own work or endeavor. So it requires to be in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. One has to be very advanced in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. One must have established his connection with Kṛṣṇa to be able to renounce the result or the reward. Otherwise, it is not possible. In the bodily platform, it is not possible. So Prabhupada says to act in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is the duty of every living entity, because all are constitutionally parts and parcel of the Supreme. So examples come in the Shastras. Many example comes. And why we should act for the Supreme, why we should offer the result to the Supreme. A very simple example is given in the Shastra, that the entire body, this entire machinery of ours, it is working all day and night. But whatever is the result or the reward it is receiving, where it is feeding? Through the mouth, we are feeding the stomach. The maximum effort is done by the hands. So much of effort is done by the head, our intelligence, our brain works, legs work. Every limb of the body is working. But whatever result, reward that we receive, what we do? We give it to our stomach. So there is this instance which is an analogy given. So once the body parts, the limbs of the body, they become very, very disturbed. What is this? That the effort is made by us and the result is enjoyed by the stomach. Why is it that why we are meant to feed the stomach? So that we will not feed the stomach. They stopped feeding the stomach. So what will happen? Ultimately, the entire limbs will become weak and the person will die. That day I gave the example of a leaf. A leaf, if it becomes detached from the tree and even it falls on the river or lake, can it survive? It will be dried. Although it is within water. The leaf may be within water. But can it survive? It will not survive. So similarly, Prabhupada is saying here, because all are the constitutional parts and parcel of the Supreme, the parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. So this principle is neither known nor accepted. Even if it is told, it is not accepted. Why? The reason is there because of our deep desire to enjoy independently from Kṛṣṇa. We don't want to serve Kṛṣṇa. We want to enjoy distinctly and separately from Kṛṣṇa. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction. So we can, we can train our consciousness with a simple fact. As Prabhupada is giving the example, that the parts of the body work for satisfaction of the whole body. They do not work for, the hand does not work for itself. The eyes do not see for itself. This simple fact from our constitution of our body and how we act and react based on each sense and limb, if we take this simple example, to understand this will not be difficult. That the parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. And what is that complete whole? Is the stomach, the abdomen, from where each and every body is fed. Similarly, the living entity who acts for the satisfaction of the Supreme Whole and not for personal satisfaction is a perfect sannyāsī, a perfect yogi. So here Kṛṣṇa is combining both. That The perfection of sannyas is one who is free from sense gratification. And a perfection of yogi is who exclusively serves or works to satisfy the Supreme. So such a person is both sannyasi and a yogi together. The sannyasi sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties. And therefore they cease to perform Agnihotri Yagyas, fire sacrifices. So in our Kṛṣṇa consciousness, we see we have so many sannyasis. Our acharyas, our present acharyas, our present spiritual masters, most of them are in renounced order. But they do not consider themselves to be liberated from material duties. One moment. So yeah, Prabhupada is mentioning here that one should not, even if one is in renounced order, Kṛṣṇa has prescribed yagya dana tapah karma na tajyam kāryaṁ evava. That these three things one can never renounce. What are the three things? First is yagya, is performing sacrifice. So here Prabhupada is saying that some sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties. It can never be so. No one is liberated from performing one's duties. Prabhupada was already in sannyas order, but he took upon the mission of spreading Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And we see that when Prabhupada went to America to propagate, Prabhupada was cooking himself. If he was cooking himself, then he had to ignite fire. Without fire, how could he cook? And he was performing all activities himself. So this verse is perfectly applied, that one who is anāśritaḥ karma-phalaṁ, and he was completely dependent on Kṛṣṇa. Prabhupada, when he began, he had never dreamt that this will become a worldwide mission. But he had full confidence in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his spiritual masters' instruction. So he executed the orders which were given to him. But he was completely dependent on Kṛṣṇa. He was anāśritaḥ karma-phalaṁ. And how much Prabhupada has strived, or how much exceptional efforts Srila Prabhupada gave. It was kāryaṁ karma karoti. So such a person is sa sannyāsī cha yogī cha, and he ignited the fire. He performed all the sacrifices. We have so many times discussed that he even performed the vivāha yagya. He got his disciples and students married him. There's nothing to do with the sannyas. So why? Because this is what Kṛṣṇa consciousness is. So they never cease to perform fire sacrifice. The Prabhupada says about the Agnihotra sacrifice. But actually they are self-interested, because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahma. So this Prabhupada is talking about those who are the impersonalist, sannyasis. So they are not bothered about the welfare of the world or the welfare of the other people, to uplift the other people. Because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahma. Such a desire is greater than any material desire. It may be greater than the material desire to enjoy sense gratification, but it is not without self-interest. This is selfish. This is selfish motivation. For one's own perfection or for one's own liberation. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for the personal self. So Prabhupada is hammering on this path of Ashtanga Yoga. So here also the practitioner or the yogi is concentrating on his own upliftment. He has nothing to do to serve the mission of the Supreme Lord. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada is contrasting. On the other hand, but a person who is acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole. Now, what is the whole? The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. Such a person is Krishna conscious. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criteria of success is the satisfaction of Krishna. And thus he is the perfect sannyāsī or a perfect yogi. Lord Krishna is the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation who prays in this way. So Prabhupada quotes the verse from Sikshashtakam. Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadish kamaye mam janmani janmaneshware bhavatad bhakti rahet ki tvai. So one who is truly a renunciate, or one who is truly a karma yogi, what is his motivation? What is his prayer? The Prabhupada is emphasizing from Sikshashtakam. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is guiding us that one should not have motivation for dhanam. In this world, everyone has motivated by dhanam, by money, by material gains. Na janam. Janam means to have high parentage or high lineage, to be in an aristocratic family, opulent surroundings, and na sundari. The other, it is either dhanam or sundari. So Mahaprabhu is saying na, na, na. Karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Ma karma phal heturbhu ma te sango asti akarmani. The word ma means na. We have discussed that. Here Mahaprabhu is saying na dhanam, na janam, na sundari. The motivation should not be, neither should be money. Motivation should not be opulence or aristocracy. And motivation should not be to enjoy the opposite sex. Neither kavitam, that is high position. But then what would be the motivation? If the motivation is na dhanam, na janam, na sundari or kavita, then what else is the motivation? Jagadish kamai. The motivation is to have the Supreme Lord Himself, Jagadish kamai. What a beautiful consciousness. What is the kamana? Is of Jagad Isha, Jagadish kamai. And see the depth of the inspiration and motivation in the next line. Mahaprabhu says, Mam Janmani Janmaneshwari. Not only for one moment, or for one instance, or not only for one day, or 1 year, or one life. Mam Janmani Janmaneshwari. Life after life, birth after birth. So, the motivation is to please and satisfy the Supreme Lord. Bhavatad bhaktir ahet ki tvai. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service. See the depth and the purity of desire that I only want, exclusive. Anāśritaḥ shunyam. This is anāśritaḥ shunyam. There's no other desire. And I want this causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. So if one is absorbed in performing his service, then it is possible that he can become detached from other motivations. Very important. If let us see the practical part of this verse, how it is possible to be anāśritaḥ, to be completely detached of karma-phalaṁ. Okay, if one is detached from karma-phalaṁ, then he is also detached from karma. Why should I work? If there is no pain, no gain, and if there is no gain, why should I take the pain? But here he says, no gain and all the pains. How this combination will be possible? This combination is only possible when one is in complete love with Krishna. When there are two burdens in this world, one we discuss the burden of the beast, that is the donkey. And Prabhupada discussed that burden in the purport. Prabhupada talked about it, is some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. So what is that burden of beast? Deha patra kalatradishu. In any case, one who is in this material world, he has to carry the burden. Either the burden will be the burden of beast, which is for sense gratification, centered or extended, concentrated or extended, or it will be the burden of love, which is selfless. And one comes to this point of na dhanam, na janam, na sundari, only if he is willing to carry that burden of love in his heart. And we see all our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, that they willingly and lovingly carried that burden of love. And they inspired and motivated millions to become free from the bondage of material existence. So unless and until we become fixed in our service, in our practice, will be again and again. We are reading the second canto, and the second canto begins where Shukadeva Goswami begins to speak. And the first thing he tells Parikshit Maharaj is he warns him of this kind of sense gratification, which is concentrated or extended, where he quotes all these verses of Deha Patra Kalatradishu. And he wants that this type of living, the life which is revolving around one's family life, where Kṛṣṇa is not in the center, the Graham-Yadi life. So he lives only for the benefit of himself. And what is the self? What is his opinion about the self? Is his body, or those who are connected to his body, his family members. And Prabhupada is saying concentrated or extended. So they are always in the illusionary influence. An entire life, they do not make any aspiration for coming out of the illusion or making any effort for self-realization. But here Kṛṣṇa is encouraging Arjuna, two aspects, anāśrit karma-phalaṁ. Don't be influenced by the result. What was Arjuna's influence? That if I fight, I have to kill Drona and I have to kill Bhishma. I'll kill all my relatives and family members. So how will I be happy? So I don't want to fight. I don't want to perform my prescribed duties. Here Kṛṣṇa is emphasizing that in any situation, however difficult it may look, or however disliking it may be to our mind, but we cannot give it up. Okay, I'll take one more verse, at least one or two more verse, a little getting penetration into the chapter. Then Kṛṣṇa further says, in the second verse, Yam sannyāsam iti prahur yogam tam vidi pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaśṇa. Kṛṣṇa is not leaving this consciousness of one who is sannyasi and one who is yogi. He says, what is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga. So far, they were taken on two different tracks. But now Kṛṣṇa is bringing them both to the same common purpose. You are so far with me? Huh? You have understood what sannyas has meant so far? Sannyas means that one who has given up performing his duties. But Kṛṣṇa is not advocating such a sannyasi. Kṛṣṇa is saying that what is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme. Sa sannyasam iti prahur. Prahur means that which is said, which is spoken. What is spoken as sannyasa? Kṛṣṇa says, sa sannyasam iti prahur. What has been termed or which has been spoken as sannyasa? Arjuna, you should know, yogam tam vidhi pandava. It is the same as yoga. Which yoga? The karma yoga. The karma sannyas and karma yoga. Kṛṣṇa is combining both. Nahi asanyasta sankalpo. O son of Pandu, one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaśṇa. One can never become a yogi or a sannyasi until he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So one cannot establish any connection with the Supreme Lord unless and until he is able to give up his own personal agenda of self-gratification or self-aggrandizement. Let us see, it will become more clear by the purport. Purport says, real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitution position as the living entity. That means one has to be Kṛṣṇa conscious. What it means to be Kṛṣṇa conscious? To know who he is, who the Supreme is, and what is the connection between the two. Very simple. That's Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And in simple words, Prabhupada says, to know God and to serve Him. And service is the means of one's love for Lord. Simple. This is Kṛṣṇa consciousness. To know God and to serve Him. The Prabhupada says the real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know the constitutional position of the living entity and act accordingly. So what is the action which is according? Is to perform service. If the Lord is the Supreme, He is the whole, we are the part and parcel. So it is the duty of the part to serve the whole. The living entity has no separate independent identity. Very important. The living entity has no separate independent identity. Why? The identity remains the same. What is the identity? Of part and parcel. So there cannot be any independent identity. He is marginal energy of the Supreme. Why the living entity is called marginal? You all know why the living entity is called marginal? Tatastha Shakti. Pranav, why the living entity is called marginal?
Because
Audio is not clear, Prabhu. Can you adjust and speak? No, we cannot hear you. Can anyone hear Pranav? No, we're not audible. Devadatta, can you answer?
Prabhuji, the living entity is part of Lord, but he is only the small part. He is not the entire. So he's.
Naja? From where did you get this understanding?
नहीं प्रभुजी सही में नहीं पता.
नहीं पता.
मैंने अटेम्प्ट करा बस.
हमें ये पता ही नहीं कि हम हैं कौन. संसार का पता करने के लिए बहुत उत्सुक है. We are spending so much of energy and time to know what the external world is, not knowing the self. के आमी कहना हमारे जारा तापत रहा है. यहाँ नहीं जानी क्या मने. But that consciousness is very difficult to come, where we will genuinely say, यहाँ नहीं जानी क्या मना हित होय. I do not know what is my real self-interest. If one has known the self, then he will ask for the self-interest. Otherwise, the interest will remain selfish. Okay, Manoram Prabhu, why the living entity is mentioned here as marginal energy?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. There are three types. One is the superior or internal energy, and one is the inferior, and Jiva is in between. They are marginal means they can transcend to superior energy, or they can they consider themselves as the matter and get influenced by the matter. So they are in between. They are not.
Okay. Yes, your answer is
but
correct.
they can come to.
So the living entity is like the land on the bank. We have seen a river bank. On the river bank, you see sometime when there is rise of water in the river, it covers the land. And that area of the land is inside water. So similarly, the living entity, it is the marginal energy of the Lord. Why? Because it has the opportunity either to get connected to the superior energy, the Swarupa Shakti of the Lord, which is transcendental, or it also has the chance and the opportunity to remain connected to the inferior or the illusionary energy of the Lord. So sometimes that land is submerged in water, so it can be connected to the spiritual energy, superior energy. Then it is not visible, it is part of water. But on the other side, when the water depletes, it becomes the part of the land. It is outside water. Then it is not the part of the water. So similarly, the living entity, it has a choice. Because living entity is the separated part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. It is not an integral part and parcel. It is vibhinna ansha, not the swa ansha. So it has the choice, either it can connect, it can take shelter of the Lord's spiritual potency, the Swarupa Shakti, or it can remain under the illusionary energy, the material energy. So here Prabhupada is saying that the living entity has no separate independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. When he is entrapped by the material energy, he is conditioned. When the influence of the illusionary energy or the material energy is there, he is conditioned. What it means to be conditioned? Who will answer? Simple, very basic understanding. What it means to be conditioned. Yes, Sonika?
Condition means it is affected or influenced by the material nature. Means his intelligence is covered.
Yeah, what it means to be conditioned. Of course, here Prabhupada is saying here, then what is entrapped by the materiality, he is conditioned. What it means? That it is entrapped and it becomes conditioned. What it means? Simple, very basic. Nothing so esoteric. It identifies itself with matter, simple, and it considers itself to be body, a product of matter. So that is the conditioned stage. It is called Jiva Bhuta. Jiva Bhuta Mahabhavo Yedam Dharite Jagat. And when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, then he is in the real and natural state of life. That means he is liberated. How is liberated? Because it does not identify itself with matter. It identifies itself as spirit soul, which is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, when one is in complete knowledge, one ceases all material sense gratification. Very important statement. Prabhupada says, when one is in complete knowledge, unless and until one is in this knowledge of one's constitutional position, one cannot cease sense gratification, material sense gratification, or renounces all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who restrain the senses from material attachment. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyāsī and a yogi. So Prabhupada reconciles the entire difference of a sannyāsī and a yogi. A Krishna conscious person is at the same time both. He is a sannyāsī. Why he is a sannyāsī? Priyanka, you have not spoken so far. Why a Krishna conscious person is sannyāsī?
Because they desire to satisfy Lord Krishna.
Sannyāsī means that he is completely renounced. He is detached from all desires for sense gratification. He has no desire for any personal sense gratification. So he is a sannyāsī. And how is a yogi Devadatta? Prabhupada is saying he is simultaneously both.
Because Prabhuji, he is trying constantly to be in that zone. Means he is putting all its efforts. Means he is already मीन्स प्रभु जी कहने का मतलब ये है कि वो अपना पूरा एफर्ट दे रहे हैं कि वो अपना जो साधना है वो सही से कर सके कृष्णा की तरफ।
नहीं, जो भी हमने डिस्कस किया उसके अनुसार आंसर दीजिए। How is a yogi? Yes, Sonika?
वो सेंस एंजॉयमेंट को कंप्लीटली अवॉइड करते हैं।
वो सन्यासी के पार्ट में हो गया। How is a yogi? We've discussed that. For 1 hour, we are almost discussing this concept of understanding what it means to be a yogi and what it means to be a sannyasi. And a Krishna conscious person is both. So yogi aspect means that he has no desire. He is free from the desire for any selfish sense gratification. That means he is completely renounced. He is detached. But a yogi is attached. He is attached to what?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, he is attached to the service of Lord.
He is attached to the perform service to the Lord. He never gives up his service. So Prabhupada says, but a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and the restraining the senses as prescribed in the Jnana and Yoga processes is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then Jnana and Yoga are of no anvil. The real aim is for living entity to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. This is the purpose of all knowledge, is to give up all selfish satisfaction and to prepare to satisfy the Supreme. A Kṛṣṇa conscious person has no desire for any kind of self-enjoyment. He is always engaged in the enjoyment of the Supreme. He is always engaged in the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction. Because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity, all purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. There is some more time, we'll take the third verse also. So now, Kṛṣṇa will speak about that there are two types of people. Those who are practicing the path and those who have perfected this path. So Kṛṣṇa uses the two technical terms. He says, Arukshor muner yogam karma karanam karma karanam uchyate yoga ruda sitaseva samakaranam uchyate. So Arukshoro, so one who is on the path of practice, one who is a beginner, one who is a neophyte, a newcomer, is Arukshuror Munir Yogi. In this path of Ashtanga Yoga. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in the yoga, such a person is mentioned here as yoga rudhasya. Rudhasya, yoga rudh. So one who is arudh, one who is already seated, or one who is already established. So here it is yoga rudha. One who is already perfected the path of this yoga which Kṛṣṇa is giving here. For one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of material activity is said to be the means. Are you getting? Work is said to be the means for those who is in the practice stage. And for those who have perfected, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Okay. Let us discuss this from the purport. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga, that we all know. Yoga means, it comes from the word yuj. And yuj means to connect or to link. Prabhupada said the process of linking oneself with the Supreme Lord is called yoga. It may be compared to the ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. The ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to the perfect self-realization in pure spiritual life. So this is compared to the ladder. The ladder has many levels or many rungs. Yeah. And one moves on the ladder gradually. So one may be on the lower stage, which is compared to the ground floor. And one may require to go to top floor. So how he moves? He goes from one level higher to the other level. According to the various elevations, different parts of the ladder are known by different names. But all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga, and we divide it into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So these are different rungs of the ladder, or the different levels of the ladder. Like we study, so we have primary schooling, then we have high school, and then we have graduation. So learning is there, schooling is there, but the levels are different. So similarly, Prabhupada is mentioning here that there is Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called Yoga Ruruksha stage. One who begins to practice this path of perfection, such a practitioner is called Yoga Rurukshu. And the highest rung is called Yoga Rule. But who has perfected, who has reached the liberated state, he is Yoga Rule. Concerning the eightfold system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life and practice of different sitting postures. So how this ladder begins? This eightfold yoga system, it attempts with beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life and practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less bodily exercises, are considered fruitive material activities. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium. So why this sitting postures, this yam, niyam? Yam and niyam is the regulative principles, the regulations, the control. And then there are asana, yam, niyam, asana. Asana means the sitting postures. Various asanas are performed, yoga asanas. So Prabhupada is mentioning here, see how scientifically Prabhupada is mentioning, is one enters into meditation through regulative principles, which is yam and niyam, and practice of different sitting postures, which is called asana. So what are these? These are more or less bodily exercises. And what is the purpose? Is to achieve mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. So the purpose of this Ashtanga Yoga process is to control the mind and senses. And how it is done? It is done through this eightfold process of yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dhyan, dharana, and samadhi. So when one comes to meditation or trance, he ceases all disturbing elements. So this is the process, the step-by-step process of Ashtanga Yoga. But however, in contrast to it, Prabhupada says the Kṛṣṇa conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation. Because he always thinks of Kṛṣṇa. And being constantly engaged in service of Kṛṣṇa, he is considered to have ceased all material activities. So our teacher gives the example. If you have to go to the 8 floors, how do you will go by the Ashtanga Yoga? You will go from ground floor to first floor, or from first floor to second floor, and second floor to third, and so on and so forth. So you may or you may not reach the final floor or the 8th floor. But if you climb the elevator from ground floor, you can directly reach the top floor. That is one stroke method of being Kṛṣṇa conscious. Hare Krishna. So I'll stop here. We have a couple of minutes. If there is any question or any discussion, please ask. Now, a very interesting portion will come. So how to control the mind and senses. Because this is Dhyana Yoga, and Dhyan can only be performed with the mind. So Kṛṣṇa will focus on controlling the mind. Next verses we will discuss that. How to control the mind. This is the first mind control seminar of recorded human history. That is Bhagavad Gita. How to control the mind. Hare Krishna. Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, here it was mentioned that sannyāsī or the people who are in runs order, they have to cease the material activities. And so, in contrast, if someone is karma yogi, they can be involved in material activities.
No. Sannyasi means that he does not ignite fire for his own cooking. A sannyasi is not supposed to cook. He is supposed to beg. But to liberate others, he cooks. Prabhupada prepared prasad, that's a yogī. And he distributed to so many. How Prabhupada converted the hippies to become devotees? By preparing prasadam. That is not material activity. It is purely spiritual activity. Prabhupada connected those degraded persons to Kṛṣṇa by feeding them prasad. If one is in sannyas order, he cannot perform any material activity. Sannyas means that mansa, vacha and karmana. One has renounced, one has given up all connection with this material world, temporary material world, and he has been connected to serve the Supreme Lord. So how can he perform material activity? It is not possible. If he is a sannyasi, then that means he has ceased to perform all material activity. Either he is sannyasi or he is a yogi. How can one be a yogi if he is performing material activity? Then how the connection will be there? Think it. Think about it. Give it a thought. Yoga means, as you have just heard from Srila Prabhupada, yoga means the linking process. How we will link if we perform material activity? One will link or one will lose the link. How do we lose the link? If we fail to perform spiritual activity, perform material activity, and the link is covered or lost. But here what is predominantly said, Prabhupada was talking about the impersonal Brahma sannyasis, that they do not even perform activity for the welfare of the poor people, those who are starved for self-realization, thinking it material. Like when Srila Prabhupada performed Vivah Yajna for his disciples, many of his godbrothers severely criticized him. What is this Swamiji doing? Huh? He is a sannyasi and he is making his disciples get into marriage. What does sannyasi do with marriage? But if Prabhupada would have not done that, how they would have become Kṛṣṇa conscious and how Kṛṣṇa consciousness would have spread all over the world. Prabhupada's such married disciples, they did much more than sannyasis of Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. What Bhakti Saraswati Thakur sent the sannyasis to accomplish, they failed and came back. But Prabhupada's disciples, as householders, they did what sannyasis could not do. So, sannyasi means that he does every activity only for one purpose, is to serve the Supreme Lord. Nothing else. Otherwise, where is he in sannyas? He is not in sannyas. So that is why we have all this kind of sannyasi, bogus sannyasi. Hare Krishna. Pucho? It should be some genuine question and answer session. Yes, Manoram bro.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, as there are three different parts of yoga has been explained. This Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Of course, Bhakti Yoga is the topmost, Prabhuji. Means if
How do you
one
know?
is practicing Bhakti
Are
Yoga,
you making some speculation? How do you know that Bhakti Yoga is the topmost? What basis?
no, this is what actually my inquiry is, Prabhuji.
Huh? What is your inquiry?
Amongst the three, is Prabhuji, if anyone practices out of the three, anyone, then whether one can reach to Yoga Roda stage or through only by practicing Bhakti Yoga, only one can reach to Yoga Roda stage, Prabhuji, the highest platform.
You should be intelligent. I gave the analogy. If you have to go to the top floor of the building, you have the ladder also. And you have the elevator also. Choice is yours. If somebody says, no, I will go by ladder only, you try. So the Yoga Rudha stage can be achieved by the ladder also. But when one will reach, to what level he will be able to reach and when he will be able to reach, one never knows. So Kṛṣṇa will give the conclusion. So Kṛṣṇa has first explained all the paths. Like if you have to come to Delhi, you have all the ways. Why you are coming by air? Why not by foot? You have the possibility of coming to Delhi by foot also, no? Can you not come by foot? Say yes or no.
Yes,
Why
Prabhuji.
you can come by foot? You travel. You come to Delhi by foot. Or you come to Delhi by bicycle. Why you want to take an air ticket? Why you have taken an air ticket? Because you don't know, you are not sure by foot when will you reach, whether you will be able to reach or not. And the reason will be over. The occasion will be over. That is what Prabhupada is saying. Again, see the purport clearly. The second verse Prabhupada is saying. But a person with Kṛṣṇa consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Kṛṣṇa. Therefore, a Kṛṣṇa conscious person is simultaneously a sannyāsī and a yogī. The purpose of knowledge and the restraining of the senses as prescribed in the Jnana and Yoga process is automatically served in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Provided one is Kṛṣṇa conscious. That is a big question. But are we Kṛṣṇa conscious? Sometimes. Few times we are Kṛṣṇa conscious. But the remaining time, we are self-conscious or Maya-conscious. So that must change. That must change. So is your question answered? Your query settled? Huh?
Yes, Prabhuji.
The path is there. The path of Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga is there. But it is impossible, almost impossible in the age of Kali. Prabhupada is mentioning that. Prabhupada mentioned that in the purport. That in the age of Kali, it is very difficult. To control the mind. Can you control the mind? In the Ashtanga Yoga process, the mind and senses are to be controlled. And what is the process in Kṛṣṇa consciousness?
Engaging the mind and senses, Prabhuji.
Yeah, engaging the mind and senses. By engaging the mind and senses, it becomes purified. And only the purified senses and mind can be controlled, not the impure. Impure mind and senses can never be controlled. Because the control is exerted by the Supreme Lord Himself. When the mind and senses are engaged in the loving service of the Lord, by Lord's blessings, by Lord's love, He controls. He does not allow His beloved devotee to fall. You see the example of great ascetics. Saubri Muni, just imagine what level of sense control he had. He was underwater. He was meditating below water. For how many years? Thousands of years. Can you imagine the level of sense control he had? If we are told to go underwater, I don't know any one of you if you have swam. I used to do swimming. We used to go to the pool. And then we do to make this fun. When you go into the pool, there is this ladder which is going inside the pool. If you've done swimming in the swimming pool, you would be knowing. I was doing it in BHU. It was a proper Olympic size swimming pool, 50 meters and full depth, at least 10 meters depth. 10 meters is a lot. To drown, you need only 10 foot. It is 10 meters. So we used to go, you used to hold that ladder and inside with our, attempt to go down below. And when you go below, if you just go little below, you will feel so much of pressure is there on the ears. We used to put some ear plugs also. There's immense pressure on the body limbs if you go down. So he was underwater. So that means he could hold his breath. He had complete control over his breath. Because when you are inside water, you cannot inhale and exhale. Otherwise, the water will enter your body. You have to hold your breath. It's very difficult to make it even for 1 minute. For 1 minute, you remain underwater. You don't allow your breath to come out. Now, what happened to him? Inside water, he got entrapped by sense gratification. And he lost it. But we see Haridas Thakur, Haridas Thakur, Giriraj Swami Maharaj himself, so many other devotees in Krishna consciousness. Why? Because they have been protected by the Supreme Lord himself. So if we engage the mind and senses in Krishna's service, Krishna protects. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhava arjuna. In the 8th chapter, Krishna will prescribe that. So this is what Krishna is saying, that you be yoga yukta. Be always engaged. Someone who is engaged, directly engaged in the service of the Lord, the mind and senses are purified. And the purified mind and senses are controlled by the Supreme Lord. So there is less chance of falling. Or even if there is fall, Krishna will save us. Krishna saves his devotee. Hare Krishna. So I'll stop here. It is past 9. So please keep yourself at least committed to study Shastra. Very important, because the onslaught of Kali is so forceful. If you go outside, again, that illusionary Maya's spell is so strong that it will drag you and it will overwhelm you to behave in such a way that you can enjoy this world. You are meant for enjoying. Very important to read Shastra. Read, write, repeat, share, again and again. Put this knowledge in such a way that it enters our consciousness, our heart. Then we can be safe. Then we can perform practice also. Otherwise, we won't be able to practice. Our practice will be again and again degraded. We'll keep falling. So remain aloof from outside world. Don't allow the external energy to influence you. How it influences? By asatsang. Keep the asatsang strictly away from you. And now the biggest agent of asatsang is mobile phone. It is always inside our inner chamber. Minimize the use. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ravindra Madhusudan Prabhuji, you can please close the session. Yeah, so you are the host for the timing. Yes.